Good morning.
Good morning.
Call this hearing of the Ware County Board of Elections and Registration to order. The purpose of today's hearing is to consider the appeal filed by Commissioner Timmy Lucas regarding his qualification eligibility as a candidate for re-election to the office of Ware County Commissioner, District 3. Before we get started, we'll stand for invocation, and then Mr. Preston will lead us in the pledge to the flag. Eternal God, source of all wisdom and justice, we come before you today seeking clarity, fairness, and steady minds. As we gather for this public hearing, grant us the discipline to listen carefully, the humility to weigh the facts impartially, and the courage to act in accordance with the law and with integrity. Bless each person present, those who serve, those who appeal, and those who observe, with patience, respect, and a shared commitment to the orderly administration of our elections. Help us remember that our work today is not about personalities or positions, but about stewardship of a process that belongs to the people we serve. Guide our words, temper our judgments, and let truth and fairness prevail in all that we do. In Jesus' name we pray, and amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Supervisor, call the roll, please.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Marion Solomon Gaines.
Here.
Andy Preston.
Here.
Vernon Chambliss.
Here.
Ludine Whitfield.
Here.
Chairman Bartlett.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you, sir. You have the agenda in front of you. Are there any corrections to the agenda or changes? Seeing none, we'll accept it without objection. The board is convened in its capacity as the election superintendent pursuant to OCGA 21-2-6, which grants this board the authority and responsibility to hear and determine matters related to candidate qualifications and election disputes. At issue in this matter is whether the statutory requirements for candidate qualification have been satisfied. Based on the information currently before the board, the following facts are established. Commissioner Lucas submitted qualifying documentation, including a qualifying fee in connection with his candidacy. The qualifying fee was submitted in the form of a check. That check was subsequently returned by the financial institution for insufficient funds. Under OCGA 21-2-6D, a qualifying fee paid by a check that is returned for insufficient funds is treated as not having been paid unless the financial institution certifies under oath that the return was made in error. This hearing provides Commissioner Lucas the opportunity to present any evidence, testimony, or documentation relevant to his appeal, including any information that may demonstrate compliance with Georgia law or otherwise support his qualification eligibility. The board will consider all evidence presented, apply the applicable provisions of Georgia law, and render a decision based on the facts and the law. At this time, we will proceed with the hearing in an orderly manner. All parties will be given a fair opportunity to be heard. Mr. Lucas, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Bartlett. Commissioners, I'm here with humbleness this morning because I, in fact, did make a mistake financially when I wrote that check and it bounced on the Republican Party president. The second she called me and told me about it, I called my wife. My wife said, send her to me. She went to where my wife works, which is right down here at the bank. My wife gave her cash money for the amount. So the second I found out about the situation and where I was at the time of the situation, because I don't look at my checking account, I know how much money that goes in there, and I feel like I know about how much money that comes out. But there had been fraud on my account, and I brought proof of that this morning. From what I can see, about $3,000 worth, where they had hit me for about $3,000. They had just recently had to leave AT&T and go to Verizon because my AT&T account had been hacked. So I'm dealing with a two-edged sword. Why they got this in for me for my checking account, my cell phone account, I have no idea. And I actually left AT&T that I had been with since I was 19 years old. I left them last month and went to Verizon Wireless to see if that would be any different. And you can imagine somebody being there as long as I was with AT&T, because I've been with them since it was Bell South. Cellular One, Cellular South, and then AT&T. But I had all kind of discounts on my account and everything, you know, for tenure with them and all this, and I lost all that and went to Verizon. But they couldn't tell me who was in my account, and I couldn't track down who was in my account, so that's why I went to Verizon. Same thing with my checking account. I mean, there's a guy's name wrote on here, David Grant, is who supposedly made some kind of $500 deposit and pulled out $3,000. And then he made another $500 deposit. So that's why I was out $2,000. But it shows his name on my account. And why they let those checks go through without looking at his driver's license or whatever, I don't know. I can't speak to that. But just like I said, I'm here with great humility today because it is my fault because it's my checking account. I'm the owner of the checking account. But then again, it's really not my fault because I'm not David Grant. I'm Timothy Lucas. And I didn't know that it had hit when it hit. But like I say, as soon as Miss Deborah Giddens called me and said, Timmy, we got an issue here. I said, well, let me call my wife. I said, can you go to her bank? She went and picked up the money from my wife. And then everything was good to go then. But like I say, she was paid. I cleaned it up as fast as I could. When I heard about it, I got it cleaned up. I didn't wait no day. I didn't wait a week. I got on it right then because I know how important this is. And that's really all I know to say, unless y'all got some questions for me. But when I called it, I corrected it. I called Miss Marion, Miss Deborah. I called Miss Deborah and got it fixed with her. She went, I think you're the one that went and got the money from my wife at the bank, wasn't you? She went and got the money from my wife at the bank. And everything was fine then. But it was just a total mishap on my part. Should have looked at it and caught that David Grant on there before I did, but whenever it happened, I did go to my account, and I did look, and that's when I found that David Grant fella. So, and my wife can even attest to that, she just walked in. But that's really all I know to say, Chairman, Commissioners. It was definitely not done on purpose because I know the position I hold is so dear to me. It's something I worked my butt off to get. And I mean, I was out there, people told me when I run the very first time, they seen me out there with lights and my headlights up on my signs, putting lights out on my signs at 10, 11 o'clock at night. I mean, I worked and still held down my other job at the same time. Worked and worked and worked when I ran the first time. And I'm actually putting out signs for, state politicians and senators now. One that's running for the U.S. Senate, putting out signs for them. Because when I put mine out, I put theirs out. I take this very seriously. I take this morning with y'all here as a commission body very seriously. I didn't want to be standing in front of y'all doing something like this. I wanted to be standing in front of y'all, congratulating one of y'all where y'all congratulating me, not nothing like this. This is not in my path or in my book of tools, so to speak. But Chairman, that's really just throw myself at the mercy of y'all and, give a deep apology with it and just say that I will be more attentive, and it will not ever happen again.
Thank you, Mr. Lucas. You know, this is a very time-sensitive matter. So if we would, let's establish the timeline of events. Qualifying period ended on March the 6th, 2026 at noon. When did you qualify?
I can't remember what day that was when I met her at the courthouse. Yes, ma'am. Could I call Miss
Sure.
Deborah up? Because she's got all that information. I met her at the courthouse upstairs the other morning.
So I can, Deborah Giddens, Chairwoman, Ware County Republican Party. I can give some information regarding the timeline. Okay, excuse me. I qualified Timmy Lucas just after 9 a.m. on Friday, March 6, 2026, which of course was the last day of qualifying. So he completed all the paperwork. I checked over his paperwork and I notarized his paperwork. He gave me a BB&T check for $144 for the qualifying fee. So after the qualifying closed at 12, then Mr. Lucas's paperwork was submitted to the Ware County Board of Elections office with that of the other 3 candidates who had qualified as Republicans. So our reports that the county party has to do, and I have a copy of them in my folders. Our reports were submitted to the board office, I think the day, well, I'm sure the date on this was Friday, 2:07 p.m. is when the Secretary, Grayson Grosesmith, and I submitted our reports along with the copies of all the candidate qualification papers. Okay, so on March 17th, Mr. Lucas's BB&T check for $144 was deposited to the Ware County Republican Party's bank account, and that bank is Waycross Bank and Trust. Okay, March 28th, Sharon Vickers Montero, our treasurer of the Republican Party, and that was on a Saturday, excuse me, she received a letter from Waycross Bank and Trust stating that the $144 check was returned to our account. It was charged back. All right, the letter stated that there was non-sufficient funds for Mr. Lucas's check. And so she immediately called me after receiving this letter from Waycross Bank and Trust. And after I said, I will call Timmy. So I immediately called Timmy Lucas to discuss the problem with him, you know, to let him know, and let's see exactly what happened. I needed, you know, an explanation maybe from him. Okay, so I called. He didn't answer. I left a voice message. I sent a text. I tried to get in touch with him again on Saturday, but I continued to call him, leave voice message, send text messages multiple times each day through Tuesday. And then I think it was early Tuesday afternoon or maybe mid-afternoon on Tuesday, March 31st, I called Miss Melinda Brooks, who's the Ware County clerk, to ask if she knew if Mr. Lucas was sick or in the hospital. And I told her that it was urgent, very urgent, that I get in touch with him and that I had been calling. And when I was unable to reach him. So she told me that he had called that day to give her a new phone number. And so I asked her, I said, it's urgent, it's important that I get in touch with him, so would you share that number? And she did, and I immediately called this new number, which was a Verizon number. He explained that he went from AT&T to Verizon. So I immediately called the new number and I left a voice message, and then afterwards I sent a text message. So I was diligently trying to get in touch with him. I didn't know why he wouldn't answer it, but he switched carriers, so I mean, he ended up with the new number, as he explained earlier. Okay, that was March 31st. I finally made a call to the new number. Okay, April 1st, the next day, at 8:27 a.m., I had a call from Mr. Lucas. Wanted to know why I was calling, and I told him about the check. And he stated to me at that time on Wednesday morning that he was very puzzled about this, because he said he knew that he had an adequate amount of money in this checking account to cover the $144 check. He says he didn't understand why he had an NSF check, because he knew he had enough money to cover the check. And then he also stated to me that he had overdraft protection on this account, and more than enough overdraft protection and availability of funds to cover a $144 check. So one concern that I had, one concern that I had was about a possible problem actually with the check, because it was a BB&T check rather than a Truist check. So BB&T merged with SunTrust Bank and it became Truist. And actually it's been Truist for several years, and so I did have a concern about the BB&T check. Well, a few days later, I went to see my banker to ask my banker about the BB&T check, would it be accepted? And she said yes, a BB&T check would still be accepted, even though it was now Truist. So around 11:30 a.m. on April the 1st, I went to Renaissance Bank, where Mrs. Lucas works, to pick up $144 in cash. So I received the $144 in cash from her, wrote a receipt, and then went immediately to Waycross Bank and Trust to deposit the cash in the Ware County Republican Party bank account. And our treasurer is here today, and both of us do have a printout to show the transaction of the chargeback to the account, and then the money being deposited in the account. So on the afternoon of April 1st, Ms. Vickers, or Ms. Montero and I met, and we were, discussing this situation and the things that had happened. And so we both talked with you, Mr. Bartlett, Chairman of the Board of Elections. And so you informed us at that time that there would be a hearing on this matter of the qualifications of Timmy Lucas for District 3 Commissioner. And it would be on Tuesday, April 14th, following the regular board meeting. And you asked both of us to attend, and both Sharon and I said that we would attend. On Monday, so here Ms. Montero and I are concerned about this and trying to I guess get to the bottom of it and see what happened, because Mr. Lucas said he had adequate money in his account and he had overdraft protection, so he wouldn't have had an NSF check. I bank at Truist. I also have overdraft protection on my accounts too. So, I understood, what he meant by that. But anyway, April 6th, Miss Montero and I went to Waycross Bank and Trust about the problem, because we wondered if it was the BB&T check, if that was the reason for the problem. And so they were really unable to give us any new information about it. So that's when I went to Truist, where I bank, and found out that they had said that there was no problem with accepting the check, even if it was a BB&T rather than a Truist check. They would still check it. So anyway, so I've had conversations with him, Mr. Lucas, trying to determine what was going on in his account, and he then did say to me that he finally realized, he was notified that he had discovered that he had fraud in his account, and that is why the check became NSF check, because of the fraud. So that's my statement.
About that.
Thank you, Ms. Giddens.
That's good. That's it. He needs to be testified about all this instead of her. He needs to be showing evidence of this instead of her.
Sharon, do you want to make a statement?
Mr. Chairman, I just have a question for them.
So,
Enjoy-
Mr. Chairman, I understand the rules. I know that rule about the NSF check from a candidate means disqualifying. And you did mention, a bank error, a problem. But I would ask and implore you to accept the qualifications of Mr. Lucas, because it turned out to be fraud in his account. It wasn't an intentional thing that his check was NSF. He assumed that it was fine, and we did too, until the end of March 28th. Our treasurer was notified of the problem with the check. But there was fraud in his account, and I would respectfully ask you to approve his candidate qualification in this matter.
Appreciate that. In Georgia Code, Title 21, Elections 21-2-6, letter B, the superintendent, upon his or her own motion, and let me define, the superintendent is the board here. Mr. Carlos is the supervisor of elections. The superintendent, upon his or her own motion, may challenge the qualifications of any candidate referred to in subsection A of this code at any time prior to the election of such candidate. Within 2 weeks after the deadline for qualifying, any elector who is eligible to vote for any such candidate may challenge the qualifications of the candidate, filing a written complaint with the superintendent, giving the reasons why the elector believes the candidate is not qualified. That part has nothing to do with us. But the superintendent, they can challenge at any time. Now, the 2 weeks, and this is the reason I said that the timeline was very important. So the deadline for qualifying was March the 6th. 2 weeks after that would be March 20th. And March 17th, if I understand this correctly, is when Ms. Giddens deposited the check, or Ms. Sharon, whoever deposited. And then it was 11 days later when you got the letter about the NSF. So between the deposit and the letter, the 2 weeks deadline arrived. Now, Rule 183-1-10-.01, this is from the State Elections Board. In the event a candidate for federal or state office pays his or her qualifying fee with a check that is subsequently returned for insufficient funds, the Secretary of State shall automatically find that such candidate has not met the qualifications for holding the office being sought. The recourse is a written certification from the bank, credit union, or other financial institution returning the check that it erred in returning the check will prevent such an automatic finding so long as the certification is received by the Secretary of State within 2 weeks after the deadline for qualifying. So that's our guidelines are the same as that.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, if I may add, now, in section 2, it talks about the local races.
Oh,
Yeah.
careful.
Number 2.
Yeah, that's section 1 of the SEB rule.
Yeah,
Section
I got
2
it here.
below that is.
In the event a candidate for county or municipal office pays his or her qualifying fee with a check that is subsequently returned for insufficient funds, the superintendent shall automatically find that such candidate has not met the qualifications for holding the office being sought. And again, it states the same thing it did in this first section, a written certification from the check admitting that they had erred. So you can see the hard place that we are in, because the law is very specific, both Georgia Code and State Election Board. Do you have a certification from the bank that they erred?
No, sir, because it was not an error on the bank's part, it was an error on the.
Okay.
I'm not gonna say my part because the gentleman has hacked my account for all that was on my account.
We requested a
Come to the
statement of
microphone.
fraud from
Can you
Truist.
come to the microphone, Mr. Chairman?
You need to.
Hello, Sherry Lucas here. I went to the bank to file the fraud chart, the disputes on the account. I work at Renaissance Bank, so I understand how that works. Fraud is very prevalent. I deal with it on a daily basis, okay? Mary Shipes, the manager at Truist, she was the one assisting me. And she told me up front, whenever I requested the letter of fraud, saying that we filed the disputes, she informed me that they are corporate and she has no authority to sign a letter on Truist letterhead. So that is why we are without that letter.
Anybody have any questions?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Marion?
And I'm not sure who to address this question to. But Mr. Lucas, you said you had some documentation that you brought with you. Is that from the bank or just your outline of what happened? Come to the microphone, please, sir.
This is just my outline, was married to the, for my talking points.
Okay, so do you have anything at all, anything like a bank statement, anything official? I know what your wife just said about the bank locally not wanting to do a letter,
Right.
but what about did they not support you or give you something stating that there was fraud on the account? Do you have anything like that from the bank itself?
I've got that paper, if I can find it, that's got that David Grant's name on it, and I can pull up my account. I can hardly see without my glasses here. Give me just a second and I'll find it.
Okay, and while you're doing that, I'll address my next question to your wife. Do you have a copy or have you printed off from your account the statement, your bank statement on the day the check was written, showing how much was in that account? On the date it was written?
I can get it. I don't have that, can I approach and show you this?
Mr. Chairman?
If
Yes.
it's something, I mean, I could make copies if it's something that,
Well, you can have
the
this.
entire board
You
needs
gonna
to
let us,
see.
can you make copies for
I
all?
mean,
Yeah.
if we take a 2-minute, pause.
Recess?
Yeah.
Okay, let's
Yeah, man,
recess
so
for
you
5 minutes.
Anything else you want me to make copies for? Is this it?
Mr. Lucas, I see I can see David Grant's name. Now, the mobile from, and it gives the number, Truist Online Transfer, are you saying that was not you?
To David Grant.
No, it just on 4/8, transaction code 3389, no, 3318.
Which page you want there?
We just have the
I've only
first
got
one.
one.
One page.
It's on 4/8, and it's got a 3318 transaction code.
There were multiple transfers between multiple accounts that we had at the same institution. And that was how he was hiding where the money was going. The person that was scamming or fraud or whatever you wanna call it was transferring from personal accounts to the business account and sometimes back to the personal accounts and then zelling themselves money. That was how the fraud was taking place.
I see the Zelle, and that's associated with David Grant. I can see that.
Yes, and we did not have an active Zelle account, so that was set up
By
through
him.
our online banking whenever it was hacked.
So these transfers do not have his name on them. Sure.
That's a-
See, like, that transfer just says mobile from, and
Mobile from BB, yeah, Truist Online.
Yeah.
That's me.
that's you, okay.
Cause I moved.
There's
I
two
got
different
like three
numbers, there's
accounts.
two different numbers.
Sir?
There's two different numbers on that
Yes.
mobile transfer. Which one's yours? The 0502 or the 788?
Well, both of them, because I'm transferring from one of my accounts to the other account.
Okay.
So David has two $300.
And I've got some more that, I need to print out. But you
Before or
guys-
before or after this period?
After this period. Cause he's still hitting me for some more after this.
Now, what mattered then, and that didn't matter. What we need to know is what happened.
Point of order,
at the time of the
Mr. Chairman, we
bad
need
check.
to speak, I mean, we need
Yeah, we need
to talk
to-
loud enough,
That's right.
and so that everyone can hear.
So you can go back and address your questions
Yeah.
to me.
Mr. Lucas, you said you had additional information about after this time frame. That's not really relevant. What we're looking at is the time before and right at the time of the individual check.
I'll double check them, sir, and look, make
Okay.
sure. But I know this David Grant issue has been a thorn in my side with my cell phone bill and now my checking account. And I guess I got my checking account information from my cell phone, because that's how I pay my cell phone. And again, that's why we left AT&T and went to Verizon.
Mr. Chairman,
Miss Marion,
Mr. Lucas, this very type sheet is what I would need. I wanna see what was in that account on the date the check was written.
Okay.
And when you give out your copy, scratch your account number off of there.
Well, I feel like I ain't got nothing to hide, so.
Okay, I understand, but,
you
I would
do.
really love it. That would really help me if we could see this type information on the date that your check was written.
Okay.
Okay, on the date it was written.
What does this do?
Um,
I can't even see it, might be my bipolar for you.
should have been March 6th.
yeah, March sixth, yes. Anything with March the sixth on it, any type of information from this printout, this type printout. Mr. Chairman, while he's looking, I have a question for Ms. Giddens.
Okay, Ms. Deborah?
Ms. Deborah? Okay, I really wanna get the timeline straight in my brain. Okay, so he qualified on the sixth, March the sixth, and paid his qualifying fee.
That is correct.
Okay, so the check, is there a reason why the check wasn't deposited until the 17th? I mean, do you have a protocol for how long you hold checks or,
Well, I guess basically it just didn't get deposited on time. So I turned in the paperwork to the board office, and that included a check from the Ware County Republican Party for the total amount of the funds that we needed to pay them, which is half of all the qualifying fee. And so we turn the paperwork in, we give the Board of Elections half of it. And I I was in a big hurry on that Friday to get that, because I was going out of town. And so I didn't stop at the bank or go to the bank and put the check in. I now regret that I didn't, because maybe we wouldn't be here today with this problem. But, yeah, it was not deposited until March the 17th.
Okay, so.
So both Sharon and I can deposit checks. Usually she does. She's the treasurer, so usually she does. But either one of us could deposit the check.
Okay, so.
And
Let me see, March.
she may have the documentation that I think the check was processed on the 19th.
Okay, so you deposited on the 17th, you think it was processed on the 19th, and you were
The
notified.
banker, does your statement show that? Because it was deposited on the 17th, and on the 19th of March, the funds were processed out of the account on the 19th. So we didn't know there was any problem till March the 28th. I think she probably has that. Because this is a printout of the Republican account for 3/17/26 through 4/14/26.
Okay.
So this is a
17.
record of the $144 check being deposited. Well, it says here, yeah, I have it, 3/19/26 charge back, $144. On 3/19/26, charge back fee $7. And then 4/1/26, deposit of $144. And then 4/14, memo credit $7. This is from our bank account. So it does show that on the 19th, that was processed, charged back to our account on March the 19th.
Okay,
So we were, do you need to look at this? You just pass it down, it's short, if you wanna see it.
I don't need to see it. Take your word for it.
Can I say something now?
Yes, ma'am.
State your name, please.
Sharon Vickers Montero. The date she just gave you are correct, 3/19. The 17th was when the deposit was made. Unfortunately, I don't have a record of when Deborah gave me the check to deposit it. That's unfortunate. We live on the other side of town, so it's a real issue for us to pass something back into. I mean, shouldn't be a big issue, but I don't know when I got the check from her. I deposited on the 17th. The 19th was the day that the statement noted, the bank statement shows that it was charged back on the 19th. And the thing I'm really having a hard time wrapping my head around here is that the check that was written on the qualifying day to the Board of Elections by the Republican Party cleared the bank. That check cleared the bank. And the laws and the regulations that you're talking about, it sounds to me like apply to the Board of Elections. If you received the Board of Elections received a check from a candidate that bounced, that's a no-brainer. Issue over. He wrote you a bad check, he's not eligible. The Ware County Republican Party didn't write a bad check. The Board of Elections received a check for his qualification fee, and now y'all are gonna apply rules to another entity, to the Ware County Republican Party. We're the ones who were out $144. We were the ones who did what we were supposed to and went to the man and said, hey, you've given us a bad check. I understand there's a rule, but the check that was written to cover his qualifying fee was written on time and it did not bounce. So I can't wrap my head around the whole idea of why are we here? We're the ones, the Ware County Republican Party are the ones who was out $144, and we did something about it.
Mr. Chairman, you want me to
Yes.
talk about the process?
Yes,
Chairman.
go ahead.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, Board, state law allows local parties to qualify, be the qualified agent for the counties. That doesn't mean that they have different rules about qualifying. They may have something in their parties that says you must do this or do this, but the basic qualification package is the notice of candidacy, your declaration of intent, and your payment. So whether it's received by the local Republican Party or the Democratic Party or this office or our office, at the end of the qualifying period, all three of those things must be met. Okay, and so whether the check was written to them or to us, they only receive the funds. Okay, it was their responsibility to receive the funds. It's ultimately this board's responsibility to certify the qualifications of all the candidates. And so that's why state law provides that. So whether it was paid to the Republican Party or not, that doesn't matter about the check from the Republican Party to the county. Okay, it matters, did that candidate satisfy the requirements of qualification? That's all I have.
Yes, sir. Any more comments?
I'm
Ms.
just
Sherman?
wondering, how do we know this has never happened before? That,
Mr. Chairman?
Ms. Marion?
We don't know, and you're absolutely right. It may have occurred before, but once the board was made aware, maybe in other situations, nobody said anything. Nobody, came to the board or made a statement about bounced checks. So you're absolutely right. It very well could have happened before, but once the board was made aware of this, then we had to act. So you're right, could have, absolutely right.
And if I may add, Mr. Chairman, it's like the local party doing qualifying is serving as an agent of the county election board to receive. So, yes, she's correct, you're correct, Ms. Solomon Gaines. But it's incumbent of the local parties to notify the board when irregularities happen, because they are vouching for that candidate and making sure that that person's certified. It's almost like saying, for example, the qualifying ended at noon. Somebody walks in the door at 1 o'clock that afternoon. We wouldn't expect the local parties to still qualify that person because they know that 12 o'clock is the deadline. It's the same thing. They are acting on our behalf to certify the candidates, to follow the same rules, to carry forward our rules to the candidates.
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Marion?
I know I keep going back to this, but I would really like to, is there any way you could pull up your statement and pull up the date? Where was it, March the, where was it? What's my date?
March 6th.
March the 6th, showing what was in that account on March the 6th. I have a BB&T account as well, and you can't pull it up on your phone? You don't check your, okay.
It was shut down due to fraud, so there's, my new phone, I have to get set it up with all my iPhones and all that stuff yet. I have to set it all up.
So the account is shut down. There's no way you can go back into that account and pull up that information?
Only what I've got time for, print it out.
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Nadine?
Mr. Lucas, you made a statement that you had wrote a check and the check did bounce because of that. The lady here saying that they wrote a check. Was there 2 checks wrote?
No, I wrote them a check and
And
they
they
wrote
wrote
the
it back, they wrote it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the
Okay.
process, yes.
Okay.
And I'll reiterate, you come up here.
Yes, please.
I talked about enough, but I reiterate that the check that I wrote that cleaned back for NSF, the second I knew about it, I called my wife, I called Miss Deborah. Miss Deborah went to where my wife banks, my wife gave her cash money. I mean, it was within an hour. As a matter of fact, I think even Mr. Carlos called me that day and made a comment to me that he didn't think I would be able to run. And I said, well, she's got my money. I just gave her cash money. And he said, I got to check into this. Pretty much conversation, right?
Yeah, it was a conversation. Remember when I called you, told you that Mr.
Mr. Bartlett was standing there.
Yeah,
listening.
he was listening.
Right.
Because the law says the board shall,
Shall, right.
you know, disqualify you. So that's why this is appeals hearing on the disqualification, not, you know, not, so basically the board had to act once they had knowledge.
Knowledge of
Yes.
it, right. And it was nothing I was trying to hide or anything like that, because even though this is my personal checking account, like I say, you know, it's got me and my wife's name on it, nobody else's name on it. But, and that's why I can't understand that Grant fella, which y'all see his name on there twice. I don't understand how he was able to write a check on my account. I don't understand it, because his name's not on the account. And he didn't sign my name at the bottom of that check,
It was not a check, it was a Zelle account.
or Zelle. I mean, I don't understand how you use Zelle, because I don't understand how to use Zelle. You know, I really don't. I gotta get my kids to help me with that kind of stuff.
Ask him a question.
Mr. Vernon?
Do you talk about the Zelle account? I know, I've had dealings with that. I understand that you don't have to write a check or anything. You just have to access your account through your phone. You have, and you said, someone said that y'all had insufficient fund protection on your account. Why did the bank cover that?
I don't know.
You didn't check into that?
I didn't, because at the time, what was at my foreload was David Grant. I was pushing on David Grant. Who is David Grant? How can I find David Grant and have a behind the barn conversation with David Grant? That's what was important to me.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, yes, I'm trying to get the timeline and all this right in my head. So the check was deposited on the 17th, and on the 28th, the Republican Party was notified of insufficient funds. Okay, so I'm playing the devil's advocate right now. Let's say the check was deposited on March the 6th, the day you qualified. And I'm assuming 10 days or 10 working days. From the 6th, then the 10 working days would have been the 16th, 17th, somewhere along in there. And let's say there were insufficient funds once that check was deposited, if it was deposited on the 6th. That still would have been after the qualifying time. Am I correct?
Yes, it would.
So it still would have come back as insufficient funds. If it takes the bank 10 business days to notify you. So it still would have been, it doesn't, even though you all waited, quite a while to deposit the check, in order to deposit the check, and once it was deposited and the bank said insufficient funds, it's a wrap. I really wish you had that statement, though.
I'll look for it, Ms. Marion, in this.
Okay, do you
paperwork here.
have anything in your papers right now, you have anything that has the March 6th date on it?
That's April. March the 6th.
Okay, no, the 6th, if it was deposited on the 6th, the 10 business days would have been the 20th.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, that would have been the 20th. Mr. Lucas, did the bank ever notify you of insufficient, they notified the party because they made the deposit?
I guess they notified the party because the bank don't never notify individuals that I know of. You know, because my wife's worked at a bank since she was 18 years old, and unless it's somebody that does dealings with banks for a whole lot more money than I do business with banks or, then they're not gonna pick up the phone and call me.
No, they won't call you, but you receive a notice or something in writing, or
I
should
never
have,
received-
in the mail.
Never received nothing in the
Okay,
mail.
okay.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Lucas, at the time you had bank at BB&T, this is just, from Truett.
That used to be BB&T.
Used to be the.
Yeah, I know. But on the time that we're talking about where it was, that you saying that it was, insufficient funds, it's not stated on here. And I know this is probably what Commissioner Gaines is asking, I'm actually
Solomon
saying.
Gaines.
Where is, we need to see that, where it's showing insufficient funds.
Albert,
Sure.
you may not have the Lucas Unlimited, we have 3 accounts with Truist. He may not have the Lucas Unlimited statement there, but this is our personal bank statement here, showing that on 3/6, there was $794.95.
Is that the account the bank was, the check was written
It
on?
is not, but they
Okay.
are all linked, so it would pull,
Mr. Chairman,
if that makes
if
sense.
she's gonna present that, she
Yeah, I
needs
need
to
to-
let him,
Sorry,
we need to take a break
I
and
need
let
to
her
make sure
make
it's
copies.
recorded,
hold on a minute.
you know. I need to make sure whatever y'all talk about is
Yeah.
recorded.
Okay.
Okay, so she needs to come to that microphone
So
right
if
there.
you,
Okay.
if you can say what you can say to the microphone and then present, you know, that'll help, because I have a hard time trying to.
So we have multiple accounts with Truist, or did before this happened. And this is one of our personal bank accounts that we don't have the statement for the business for that particular day. But on this day, in the personal account, it shows the amount, which they're linked, so it would pull if it was to clear. Does that make sense? And so I can show that there was $794.95 on March the 6th.
But it's not the account that the check was written, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, may I?
Yes.
But the statement you have is not, for me personally, I really need to see the account that the check was written on and what was in that account on March the 6th.
Okay, that he does not have.
So here's my question. You've got $700, you say, in that account, it's linked to the other account.
Yes,
Then
sir.
Why, I guess the 700 wasn't enough to cover the deficit in the other account, or he would not have gotten a non-sufficient funds notice.
It did pull.
Keep in mind that the fraud was going on still, that we were unaware of. And it shows that on March the 6th, the $795 was in there. And on March the 9th, there was an online transfer for $790.
See, and like I say, Commissioner, I don't know how far the fraud goes back, because I still work, you know, I still have obligations I gotta do, so I'm coming home and working on this couple, you know, hour and a half in the evenings. I'm fine trying to spend a little bit of time with family and grandkids and that kind of stuff. So it's just busy all the time, even on the weekends. We all know how that is, especially when you have them precious little grandbabies. But like I say, if I would have done this if I would have done this on purpose, I wouldn't be standing here this morning. But I'm man enough to own up. It's what my daddy raised me, and the reason I got broad shoulders, because I'm man enough to take my lashes when I need to take my lashes. That's just the way I was raised. Not pointing a finger at anybody, because it's like my daddy always said, when you're pointing at somebody, your thumb's pointing back at you. So just be careful who you point your finger at, because it's always coming back. This was an error. It was not on purpose. It was 100% an error. And just like I said in my opening remarks a while ago, Chairman Bartlett, I throw myself at the mercy of the commission, because this is a first timer for me. I hope it's my last. I doubt it's ever gonna be my last. We always say, oh, I'm not gonna do this no more. And then a couple months later, it happens again. And I was just talking with a good friend of mine coming upstairs a while ago, and I was like, man, I said, I can't believe I'm here for this. You know, he was like, man, it happens to everybody. I said, some people it don't happen to. And he said, well, those that don't happen to are lying to me. He said, because this happens to everybody. And that's somebody I've known since junior high school. And he knew why I was here this morning. And that made me feel a little better, but it still don't take the sting away, if you understand what I'm saying, because I'm totally embarrassed right now. Totally embarrassed. Never thought I'd be standing up here in front of y'all as an organization, the voter registration board, and the supervisor of elections, and then the people out here in the audience. I never thought I'd be standing here on something like this, as embarrassing as this is for me. But life happens, life moves on, life's a learning lesson, and this is something I'm gonna learn from and go. I mean, again, I go back to one thing my father said: when you quit learning, they throw 6 foot of dirt on you. That's when you stop learning. That's when that 6 foot of dirt gets thrown on you. If you don't learn something every day, they fix and throw 6 foot of dirt on you. And this is a life lesson here. I've definitely learned something from it. You can I promise you that. And me learning this, I think, is a little bit harsher because of the circumstances I'm standing in right now in front of y'all as the election board. Because I wrote it to an entity that puts you on the front page of the doggone newspaper. And, you know, that's some publicity, but not the kind of publicity I pay for or want. But I definitely throw myself at the mercy of y'all and apologize for it. And the only thing I can do is promise that it'll never happen again. And anything I need to do to make it right, I'll make it right, which I've already made the check right. I made the check right the day we found out about it, within an hour. And no, my bank did not notify me of any discrepancy or anything.
Not even through the mail?
No, man, I haven't got anything through the mail because I brought it with these.
Mr. Chairman, I bank at BBT Truist as well, and I found them to be very, very helpful. And to give you an idea, about 2 weeks ago, and another thing, it's on my phone. I can pull up anything on my phone from that account. But about a couple of weeks ago, I went in to pay my credit card, and I noticed some charges on there that I didn't make. For example, $110 for Sam's Club. What the heck is this? And so there were about $200 worth of charges that I did not make. I notified the bank. They took those charges off, sent me a new card, and everything is good. So those charges were applied. So they work. I know they do work with you.
They do.
And
they have.
And I wrote a check to the guy that does my yard a couple of weeks ago. It was on a BB&T check, okay, but Truist honored that check. They will honor those checks. So I'm just, I guess I'm just at a loss as to number one, why you were not notified, and number two, why is it that you can't, pull up the charges or the account statement as of March the 6th?
I mean, if I was,
and maybe the bank can pull it up for you, but I would really, I would strongly suggest I check my account at least twice a week. Mm-hmm. At least twice a week. I have BB&T, Truist, and I have USAA, and I check those accounts at least twice a week just to see what's going on, because I want to know, because fraud is everywhere. It's one of the biggest problems we have in this country.
And I've made it more of a habit of mine to start checking my stuff, especially what I went through with my phone bill, what I went through with my phone. And really the only good thing to come out of it is our daughter decided, she lives up Middle Georgia, she decided she'd just go ahead and get her phone at another company up there. So I saved that $70 a month there.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
she's
it's
24 years old now, so it's time for her to pay her own phone bill. So
yeah.
and all I'm paying for is my 19-year-old now, so, and he'll be the last one, then it'll just be me and her, and our once $450 a month phone bill will be $100. So.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. President, do you have anything?
I think this just shows how fraud can impact a lot of people. I have deliberately not asked any questions because I like to listen. But in looking at the law, I think our hands are kind of tied in what we can do from that standpoint. That's my personal interpretation. I don't know if we have the discretion to do. So my question would be, I guess I address it to you, is that as a new board member, not really knowing how everything works, is do we have the discretion to do? I mean,
There's no discretion in the law. You presented everything you got?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can we assume that as your closing statement?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, we'll go. We have something.
Go ahead.
So we need to, have a,
Could I make a very short statement before you?
please short.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Board. When this problem was brought to our attention on Saturday, March the 28th, I felt like it was my responsibility to communicate with Mr. Lucas to make him aware of it. I didn't know if he was aware of it or not, but he wasn't. Make aware of this problem and see what happened. I'm well aware it's an NSF check can disqualify somebody unless there is bank error or some extenuating circumstances, but a bank error. Well, because he said to me, I had trouble getting in touch with finding because of the change of the phone number. And because when I did talk to him, he said to me he did not understand why he had an NSF check, because he knew he had money in his accounts, all of his accounts, to cover a $144 check, as well as the fact that he had overdraft protection to come in and cover funds available on overdraft protection to cover a $144 check. And that's what he said to me. I believed him. I felt like that it needed to be determined exactly what had happened and that it needed to be determined if it was the bank error or not. But now he's had another problem, and it's fraud. So as far as he was concerned, he had the money in the account to cover the check. And the fraudulent activity has therefore caused him to not have the money. I feel like that the bank, the Truist Bank, does have access to his account, but his account is shut down. He can't access it now. But Truist Bank, I believe, can provide the information about the daily balances of his account. But the officer of the bank would have to do that. So that's still a possibility on the actual proof of the fraud.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could be real short one more time. I'm catching these words, you have to excuse me, my mind moves kind of slow. Catching these words and these statements about bank error, bank error, bank error. Well, I would consider, as long as I have been with BB&T, Truist, that when they let those two checks go through from that David Grant fellow, that was an error on the bank's accord. Wasn't an error that I made, wasn't an error that I did, that was an error on them. Because they're the ones that let it go through, thereby the check that I wrote Ms. Deborah bounced. I would submit that because I'm sitting here thinking about this, thinking about how this could have happened. Even now, I'm thinking about how this could have happened. And that's the conclusion that I come to. It's the only thing that could have happened, because I know the day I wrote her the check, I had the funds in there. The week that I wrote her the check, I had the funds in there. I mean, my check, well, I mean, now it does go in a negative sometimes because it's a business account. Here again, why I don't understand why they didn't cover it, because they've always covered everything. Always have. But again, I just can't say with enough sternness, I'm just throwing myself at the mercy of the commission because this is new to me, number one. I mean, it's been 35 years, maybe even 40 years since I've done this, since this has happened to me. When my mom and dad first hooked me up with a checking account when I was 15, until my mom took me down with those switches, when that temp check come to the house, I quit writing checks for a while. And then I built my checking account up at 15, 16 years old before I wrote another check. Because when you get a check, you get a whooping from my mama with some switches, and her at 80 years old right now can still whoop me with a switch, and I wouldn't take it from her. I'd just stand there and take it, because that's my mom, you know. But I'm puzzled, I'm embarrassed, and I just don't know what else to say. I'm just puzzled, and I'm embarrassed, and this is not me, this is not my character. I've been up here on this board of commissions, I've served, now it'll be 6 years, because I've done the last year and a half. Tony Tanner, done a year when Burton Carter passed, and then I finished Burton's term out, because I was personal friends with the family, and now I've run, this is my last year on my first term, and was planning on running again. Done got my signs out, and don't know if I'll win or not, because I'm running against some tough people, tough candidates. I got 2 of them I'm running against, and they're tough, they're gonna be tough, I know that. And that's why I hit the ground running, but anyway, this isn't me, this isn't my character, or it would have surfaced before now.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Ludine?
Miss Deborah, you were notified first of the check being insufficient funds?
Miss Sharon Montero, our treasurer, she was notified first. She received a letter on March 28th from Waycross Bank and Trust,
Okay.
notifying.
No, Truist.
No. Sharon received a letter on March 28th from Waycross Bank and Trust, notifying her that there had been a charge back to our account for the $144 plus $7 fee.
Okay, so when was Mr. Lucas told?
Okay, so Sharon and I found out on March 28th, and that afternoon I called him. I called the number I had for him, but his number had been changed. And it was Tuesday afternoon when I found out that he had a new phone number. And when I got the new phone number, I immediately called him, left a message and sent a text. So that's when he found out.
Good?
So apparently he got no notification from his bank.
All right. I think we've heard enough. Heard enough? We do? Okay, so we've heard enough. And we need to deliberate. It's been our first time we deliberate out here, or can we go in there? Out here. So since we can deliberate now we've listened for over an hour of evidence and other things. So now we're gonna take our time here and I hope that y'all would respect our time so that we can deliberate openly and with each other. We sat here quietly for an hour and 15 minutes. So if you would, give us a little bit of time and we'll look over this and decide what we're gonna do. All right.
Mr. Chairman, if y'all want to, y'all can go in there.
Well, some public.
the attorney advised, you know.
Yeah, we asked about that, and we were advised, no, it's got to be a public hearing, it's a public hearing. Sorry. I'd rather be in there. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, do you want a copy of this document, which was my statement on name?
No,
We don't need it.
no, we're
Okay,
good.
we're good. Thank you. All right. I got something here. This will be a statement closing the public hearing part. The board has now heard all testimony and reviewed the evidence presented in this matter concerning the qualification and eligibility of Commissioner Timmy Lucas for the office of Ware County Commissioner, District 3. We appreciate the participation of all parties and the professionalism demonstrated throughout this process. As election superintendent, the board is charged under OCGA 21-2-6 with the responsibility to ensure that all candidates meet the legal requirements for qualification. Our role is not discretionary. It is to apply the law to the facts as presented. The board will now deliberate based on the record before us, including the applicable provisions of Georgia law, specifically OCGA 21-2-6D and SCB Rule 183-1-10-.012 as they relate to candidate qualification requirements. Following deliberation, the board will render its decision. That decision will be entered into the official record and communicated accordingly. At this time, the board will proceed to deliberation. Spencer, if we came a little bit closer, would you still be able to pick up? Okay. Y'all want to gather a little bit tighter right here. Mr. Preston, I appreciate bringing up about the discretion, because that is the biggest thing that as I look at this, what role do we play? What do we have to do? And is there any wiggle room? So I don't believe there's any wiggle room. And I have a statement here. Now, if caught early, candidate swaps payment, no issue. There's a time period. Valid payment must be received during qualifying. And as Mr. Nelson pointed out, the parties act as agents for us. So the valid payment must be received during qualifying. If caught late, the candidate is disqualified. Even if it was just a banking issue, which I would say such as fraud, unless certified by the bank officer or director under oath that the bank erred. I asked specifically if Mr. Lucas had received a certified letter or something from the bank saying they had erred. And of course, he answered truthfully saying, well, they didn't err. After the window closes, there is no fix. Candidates may argue fraud. It was a mistake. The money was there. The bank messed up. The dog ate my homework. Legally, doesn't matter what the excuses are. So the statute cares about timely payment and not intent. We know he intended to pay his qualification fee. And he thought he had. But the evidence suggests that there were no funds there to cover that. So, do y'all have anything you'd like to add?
Mr. Chairman, the only thing I want to say is that it's very clear, the law is the law, and we have to follow the law.
Okay.
I'd like to say that, I agree with unfortunately, the law is the law, and I agree also that Ms. Vickers said that, you know, the check that was paid to the county did not bounce. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the candidate's payment, and that's what, you know, unfortunately, that's, nothing we can do about that. Under,
It's the same thing.
yeah, right, it's under section 2. I mean, I hate that, but that's the way it is.
Anybody else? All right, let's go back to our positions then. So at this time, I think everybody's made up their mind, and we will take a motion to either grant or deny the appeal by Mr. Lucas.
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Marion,
I move that we deny the appeal by Mr. Lucas of the, because of the Georgia statute, 21-2-6D.
your second.
I'll second.
Mr. Vernon seconds. Is there any discussion, any further discussion?
I want to say again that I think it's unfortunate, but I feel like following the law, this is the right decision.
I agree.
Mr. Chairman,
Ma'am?
I have to ask or inform, no, I'm asking, that Mr. Lucas does have the right to appeal our decision, is that right? But if so, we're on a real tight timeline.
Exactly. April 27th
Yeah.
is, voting begins. All right, Mr. Supervisor, I'd like you to call the roll, get the vote.
Okay, Mr. Chairman. Ludine Whitfield,
I agree with the decision.
Vernon Chambliss,
I agree.
Andy Preston,
Aye.
Marion Solomon Gaines.
Aye.
Chairman votes aye. So it passes unanimously, the appeal is denied.
I hate it, that's what it is. I hate it.